America's ever spiraling debt load.
No, we're on an unsustainable path. Debt is not at an unsustainable level, but the path is unsustainable, meaning it's growing faster than the economy, meaningfully faster than the economy. We have to address that over time. We will address it over time. And the better way to do it is soon and to do it in good times. Start when the economy is strong and the taxes are rolling in. And that's since we don't do fiscal policy, but I will say that the sustainability of the debt is something we need to get back to and focus on again.
Now, don't be concerned about those comments about the unsustainability of the debt, because you've been hearing politicians and presidential nominees for financial posts say the same thing for generations. And rest assured, despite it being unsustainable and there being consensus on it being unsustainable, and everybody's a fiscal conservative in Congress and in these presidential administrations, do not worry. We will continue to double and triple down on printing funny money and spending money we don't have, paying our mortgage with a credit card, as it were. It recalls Paul Simon, his op-ed in the Springfield Journal-Register in the early 70s, where he was signaling a warning about Illinois' debt load. Specifically, Illinois' unfunded teacher pension funds. Then it was in the early 70s, it was $1 billion.
$1 billion?
$1 billion in unfunded teacher pension liabilities. We need to do something about this. We need to take evasive action. This is a serious matter. This is unsustainable. We can't stay on this path. 50 years later, it's increased 60-fold. So just understand that, Illinois' model of governance is more or less the federal government's model of governance. And so we'll look back a decade from now on Jay Powell's comments last week, and we'll laugh and laugh and laugh. Won't we, Steve Moore? Steve Moore, Trumponomics author, economist, Wall Street Journal columnist, joins us. Steve?
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. By the way, when you mentioned Paul Simon, I thought you were going to mean Paul Simon of Simon and Garfunkel, who's famous for slip sliding away.
Oh, okay. Well, that's another way to go.
That is what's happening with the Illinois economy. By the way, I missed the very first part of that. I heard the quote. Who was that speaking about the debt? Who was that?
That was your Federal Reserve Chairman, Jay Powell.
Oh, that was Jerome Powell. Oh, yeah. By the way, I met with Trump this week over in Mar-a-Lago. We sat down for about 30 minutes and had a good chat. And he spent half the meeting just raging against Jerome Powell, who I told him, sir, you made a lot of great appointments like Larry Kudlow, but Jerome Powell have been one of your worst appointments. I mean, he has facilitated like no other Fed chairman in many decades, this massive increase in debt and the money printing. And he's been way behind the curve. I give him about a D grade as Fed chairman. And of course, that means he's going to be reappointed, right? Because what Washington loves is cheap money and the accommodative stance of the Fed that's allowing all this debt. Now, I thank you so much, Dan, for mentioning my new book on this very subject.
Oh, yes.
Called Govzilla. How the relentless growth of government is devouring America, and that's exactly what's happening. We are headed on a path. If Biden, God forbid, were to pass any part of this so-called Build Back Better bill, the accumulating costs of this, just like you were talking about, what's happened with the unfunded liabilities in the pension system, in the next 25 years, the standard would be the U.S. government would be spending 50% of our GDP. So we would be officially a socialist country if we're not one already.
Well, if you were in charge, what would you do? How do we right this wrong?
I would be cutting spending. I would do an immediate across the board cut of about 10 or 15% of every agency. Amy, there is so much massive, literally trillions of dollars of waste in the federal government. When you have let me give you one example, Amy. The unemployment insurance program, when we provided all those extra unemployment benefits,
yeah.
I think you guys know this. There was $150 billion with a B, not $150 million, which is a lot of money, $150 billion of fraudulent payments to people who are ineligible for the benefits that receive them anyway. And incidentally, we know that billions of that money didn't even go to Americans. It went to people living in Malaysia, living in South Africa, living in, I mean, you're not even checking where these people live. I mean, how in the world do you allow that to happen? We should have I told Trump this. If you become president again, and I think he is going to run in 2024 after my conversation with him,
Really?
you should have an audit of every single federal agency and figure out where all of this money is going, because it's just become a sieve, and nobody even looks at where the waste is and where the fraud, but everybody knows it's there.
Well, I have some more questions about the Fed, but tell us more about that conversation with Trump and why you think he's going to go in 24.
Yeah, what did he say to you?
Well, he's basically he is obviously dismayed about what Biden has done. He agrees with me that Biden is become in just 1 year one of the worst presidents in American history, and he wants to run. He wants to. He does believe, as you all know, and he's too obsessed with this, that the election was stolen. And I do believe there was a lot of voter fraud. Whether it was stolen or not, I don't have the expertise to know. I don't think we'll ever know. But he looks good. He's been on the golf course, and he's been keeping up with events. So I just think he's in, and I think he's angry about the direction of things. I mean, look, just give you one statistic. 1 year ago today, two statistics. 1 year ago today, America was energy independent for the first time in our lifetimes. We were actually exporting more oil and gas than we were importing. Now we're dependent on OPEC again in 1 year. Here's the second statistic. Do you know, either of you, what the inflation rate was exactly a year ago, the month that Biden left office? I mean, that Trump left office.
1.7%.
You're pretty good. 1.6%. So think about that. In 1 year, Amy, we've gone 1.6% inflation to 7%. And I don't know if you're seeing this, Amy, in the Chicago area, but my wife and I went out on Thursday night to go to the grocery store. And first of all, usually on those trips we spend about $100 on groceries. It now costs $125.
Oh yeah.
So there's your inflation. But there was no milk, there were no eggs. There were empty aisles. And we went to like 3 grocery stores in our area. We couldn't find any milk at any price. I was willing to pay $10 a gallon for some milk, and we couldn't find it.
Well, milk is about $5-6 a gallon here, which it's sticker shock. Really? Oh, I mean, every time I go into the store, I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack.
You know where you get where you get eggs and other foodstuffs at restaurants. That's right. I don't know the grocery stores. I don't know what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I'm going to take you on a field trip, Dan. I'll give you a set budget, and then you have to make it work. Even Aldi's is too much.
When I went to the store, though, Dan, I felt like I was in the Soviet Union or something.
I know.
mean, when's the last time you've seen empty shelves of things?
You know what's empty? Oh, sorry. Go on. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I mean it's absurd, and it's because of these supply chain problems, and it's because you've got the ports, And by the way, one other interesting point: I was in Miami this week because that's when I was at Mar-a-Lago. Then I went to Miami. Miami has a giant port, one of the biggest ports in the country. The biggest one is in Long Beach. When you go to the Long Beach port, you don't see a lot of activity. You see all these cargo ships that are just lined up. In Miami, those ports are running. I went by the port at 11 o'clock at night, and the cranes are running, the blah, 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 blah. Why is it that they work in Florida and they don't work in California?
Speaking of Miami, and that's located in Florida, and back to your conversation at Mar-a-Lago with the former president, DeSantis, and a lot of people, myself included, promoting the idea that DeSantis would be the best nominee in 2024. And now there's some friction that's bubbled up to the public between Trump and DeSantis. And now DeSantis, I think he's going to, and I think he's going to win going away, but he still has to win re-election this November. What is the state of affairs with Trump and DeSantis in your estimation, and how does that work itself out?
Yeah, it's a great question. So first of all, let me say, having spent the last 4 days in Florida, I was in West Palm Beach and then in Fort Lauderdale and Miami, so South Florida. I mean, my God, Miami. I don't know if have you guys been to Miami lately?
Yes.
No.
It is unbelievable. It is like booming. I cannot believe it's an international city now, and you meet people from every corner of the globe in Miami, especially every part of South America. I've never seen anything like it. It's like the new New York, really. I mean, it's the financial capital right now. Everybody is moving to that area. They're now complaining about how much traffic there is in Miami. So it is a city and part of the country that really works. And when I go to New York, everything's dead in New York. I haven't been to Chicago in a while, but New York, everything's dead. And people are kind of huddled in their corners and they're afraid. In Miami, everything's just booming.
And I bet people are nice to each other. People probably say hi to each other because we don't do that here anymore.
Exactly.
It's unbelievable.
People are happy. Look, they have sunshine and they have great weather, but it's more than that. People just have a can-do spirit. This is the difference between liberals and conservatives. Liberals are huddled in the corner in the fetal position, and we as free enterprisers go on with our life. But it's going to be an interesting thing. I mentioned DeSantis, the president. He certainly he was not disparaging in any way of DeSantis, but he does understand that DeSantis could be a major, Republican. I think he's the one guy who could certainly take on Trump if it came down to that. That would be an interesting race. But no, I mean, you're so right, Dan. DeSantis has been an incredibly productive and effective governor. And incidentally, the left, remember last year, how they were absolutely disparaging him. He handled the virus all wrong. They called him Death Santis and stuff. And now you look at it, and the evidence is so clear, and the evidence is coming in every single day. Even liberals are admitting it, and that people like you and I and DeSantis and Phil Kerpen and others who said keep the economy open, that it's not having a positive effect to shut down schools and churches and businesses and so on. And I think everybody now, except for the hard left, is recognizing that lockdowns were a huge, huge mistake.
As somebody who knows both DeSantis and Trump, but certainly better than we do, what is your take? Do you think if both of them were making noise that they're going to run, do you think either one would blink or there would be an actual face-off?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, look, I don't see right now, and there's still 2 years away till you get into the foray of the primaries. It's hard for me to see anybody in a Republican primary beating Trump right now. I mean, now if anybody could do it, it would be Ron DeSantis. And so we'll see. I mean, DeSantis has one hell of a record, and he is beloved around the country. Very high approval rating. He's going to win a smashing reelection in Florida this November. So that could be quite a matchup. Now, I want to mention one other name for you guys. Okay, keep an eye on a man by the name of Glenn Youngkin. He is just sworn in as the Virginia governor on Saturday. In his first 3 days in office, he's done more for Virginia than the former governor did in 3 years. I mean, he's out of the gate. He has these executive orders getting rid of all these lockdown orders. He got rid of critical race theory in the schools. He's opening up things. It's like all of a sudden the clouds dispersed and the sun came out in Virginia. Wow. And there is a buzz about it. I don't know if people are talking about him at all in Illinois, but there is a big buzz about this guy. He is going to be a fantastic governor.
All right. He is Steve Moore, economist, author of Trumponomics, and now Govzilla. Pick up Steve's new book, Govzilla. Steve, thanks as always for joining us. Good luck with the new book.
Okay, guys. And Amy, good luck getting milk.
Thank you. I'll call you. I'll text you when I get my gallon, okay?
See you guys later.
Bye. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago.